Review, and today I'm going to review a fantastic, unfortunate fragrance. Is a real, or it's not even a hidden gem. Maybe you know it about this fragrance, but it's a real excellence. It's a real masterpiece in the bottle. And I really mean it because I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a fabulous fragrance that now I'm going to introduce it to you, or maybe you've been in touch with this fragrance before. I don't know, but it's one of my favorite fragrance. It's Signoricci number 2 by the house of Nina Ricci, released in 1975 and unfortunately discontinued again by Nina Ricci. So what is this fragrance all about? I'm going to develop this matter. Just know that prior to this, I reviewed the original Nina Ricci, Signoricci, which was released in 1965, and it's on the playlist of my Nina Ricci's fragrances. This is a citrus fragrance for men. As I told you, released in 1975, and the nose behind this fragrance is the master perfumer Raymond Chaillan. Top notes are lemon, lime, basil, and petitgrain. Heart notes are aldehyde, jasmine, mandarin, orange, and carnation. Base notes are oak-moss, white musk, amber, and tonka bean. I will also give you the main accords. Main accords are citrus, aldehydic, aromatic, fresh and spicy, green, mossy, white floral, and earthy accords. So this fragrance, it's just a masterpiece in the bottle. Well, how we can compare Nina Ricci, Signoricci original, released in 65, with Signoricci number 2, released in 1975? Well, it's I will not say it's almost the same, but it's the more floral and more smoother version of the Signoricci 1965, and it is pretty close to the original. I mean it. It is pretty close to the original, and you can detect the difference if you wear them side by side, and then you will realize that there are differences, but at the first sniff is almost the same. So this is my impression on Signoricci number 2. Raymond Chaillan, the perfumer of this fabulous fragrance, he said once that this is perhaps my best creation. And Raymond Chaillan, he's a fantastic perfumer. He composed Yves Saint Laurent Pour Homme in 1971. He also composed Opium for Women for Yves Saint Laurent, and many more fragrances. So he's a real master perfumer. But here he really signed one of the kings of summer. This fragrance is the true citrusy king fragrance. Rarely been paired since. I detected few fragrances that were inspired by this fragrance, and I will name it. For example, Eau pour Homme by Giorgio Armani was much inspired by Signoricci, and there are one more that it's very inspired by Signoricci, and that one is Lalique pour Homme, which was also created by Maurice Roussel. I will talk about that fragrance. That fragrance too is a real pretty much close to Signoricci's, on the same ballpark. And even a couple of years ago, Givenchy released a Givenchy Gentleman Only Casual Chic, which I already reviewed, and that one too is pretty close to Signoricci. So those are the fragrances that really come to my mind. And I really love this fragrance for summer. I really enjoy wearing this fragrance for summer. I don't know if you ever experience the original Signoricci released in 1965 or Signoricci number 2, but both of them are fantastic. Unfortunately, both of them have been discontinued by the house of Nina Ricci. Go and ask why. Because the house of Nina Ricci now, the owner of this, the fragrance brand is the Spanish brand Puig, and immediately Puig discontinued all the male fragrances from the house of Nina Ricci. And this is a very unfortunate thing, because the house of Nina Ricci had lots of great fragrances for gentlemen, such as Signoricci, such as Phileas, such as Ricci Club, such as Memoir Dome, and all of them were fantastic. And I reviewed most of them, and I really don't understand why the House of Puig decided to discontinue all those great fragrances from the House of Nina Ricci, because those fragrances really are fabulous. So Signoricci number 2 or Signoricci original are true kings for summer, are true splash of freshness, the best citrusy fragrances among the best. Maybe only the original Eau Sauvage or the original Moustache by Rochas could pair them, but they are fantastic. They are earthy, they are floral, they are mossy, and they are so well blended that once you wear it, you really feel good and you really feel fresh and you feel amazing. This fragrance is among my top 5 fragrances for gentlemen. It's classic, has that citrusy candy notes, which is fabulous. When you wear it, it's a real gentleman fragrance. It's not overpowering, it's not overwhelming, well blended, stay on your skin for 7 up to 8 hours, but never will bother your neighbor, never will bother your friends. It's a true compliment getter, because each time I wear it, I get compliments, and I really miss that fragrance, and I'm very sad because it has been discontinued. And I really wear them occasionally because I don't want to finish my bottle, because I know after that I will not find another bottle easily. Prices are soaring and soaring. It's a rarity. Nowadays, you cannot find a bottle of Signoricci for less than $350. And even that, be careful, because often they are fake. Often the juice are faded away. So you have to be very careful of the seller, because once you want to get your refund, it's not that easy to get back your money. So be careful of that. I don't trust the sellers on eBay easily unless I experience with them prior. And be very careful, because even on Etsy, you have lots of crooks operating there. So I just wanted to warn you, you got to be very careful if you want to find old bottles. Don't waste your money and don't pull the trigger easily. Always ask for a little sample before finalizing your purchase. So what else I can tell you about this fragrance? This fragrance has been also the signature scent of the late Hollywood actor Marlon Brando. He wore that. He loves that because he was living in Tahiti, and the weather there is moist and it's hot. So he really needed to have a citrusy cologne, and this one was his favorite fragrance, among others perhaps. But I know that he loves Signoricci, and Signoricci original or Signoricci number 2 are pretty much close to each other's. But the difference with the Signoricci number 2 is the Signoricci number 2 is less sharper than Signoricci number 1, especially on the citrusy notes. It's a smoother and it's more woodsy, has the woodsy backbone with the floral notes. This is the only difference I detect. Really, it's a fabulous fragrance. I really advise you. Unfortunately, I cannot advise you to buy, so I advise you just to find a sample, or I don't know, whatever, and sniff that majestic fragrance from the house of Nina Ricci. Unfortunately significantly discontinued, among others, male fragrances from the house of Nina Ricci, which is very unfortunate to me. So this is my take on Signoricci number 2. Will be added to the playlist of Nina Ricci's fragrances. And this fragrance is among my top 5, definitely. And it's among my, I would say it's even my number 1 fragrance for summer. And really, I mean it, because I cannot beat that with another fragrance. Really, I prefer this. I prefer wearing Signoricci to Eau Sauvage, or I prefer wearing Signoricci to Moustache, but are on the same ballpark. But I prefer more Signoricci. Raymond Chaillan done a great job over Signoricci at number two, and he's a true master perfumer. He's a true wizard of the perfumery, French perfumery. And I just wanted to shout out for Raymond Chaillan, because all the fragrances he made were just fabulous. And this is one of them. I think Raymond Chaillan, he also made Boucheron Pour Homme, which is another great fragrance on the same ballpark as Signoricci. Just give it a try, at least Boucheron Pour Homme, because it's still alive and it is still on production and it still smell great. So that's it. Have a great Sunday. Also, stay safe and sound, and stay safe, because the weather is very hot in some areas, and protect yourself, and all the best I wish you. We had the unfortunate news. We lost Tony Bennett. He was one of a kind. He was the last of the crooners. I love that guy. So I dedicate this fragrance review to Tony Bennett, because I think Tony Bennett might love Signoricci number two, because it's a very stylish fragrance, and he was a very stylish gentleman. That's it. Stay safe and sound, stay tuned, and remember, wear only what you want to wear. I'll be glad to read your comments. I'll be glad to answer to your comments. Feel free, drop a comments and give your opinion about Signoricci by Nina Ricci number two. And until we talk again, God bless you all. Cheerio.